Yeah, sorry about that. I had a dilemma. I said, is this readable? And I said, yeah, pretty much for the purpose. And then I said, will these people want me to waste paper because they're just probably going to throw it away anyway? Or should I print them again? And so I assumed that all of you would be okay with a little bit lighter color. So we're going to take some time on some Sundays in the next few months, if the universe allows, um, looking at the Satipatthana Sutra and aligning it with Mahasati practice. So today's topic is cultivating curiosity. Here, in regard to the body, a person abides contemplating the body, diligent, clearly knowing, and mindful, free from desires and discontent in regard to the world. In regard to feelings, they abide contemplating feelings, diligent, clearly knowing, and mindful, free from desires and discontent in regard to the world. In regard to the mind, they abide contemplating the mind, diligent, clearly knowing, and mindful, free from desires and discontent in regard to the world. In regard to Dhammas, they abide contemplating Dhammas, diligent, clearly knowing, and mindful, free from desires and discontent in regard to the world. In Mahasati, we are not excluding anything from awareness. We are simply staying in the present moment with whatever is here. But we are aware of what's here in a particular way. We are aware with mindfulness. Mindfulness means we are attending to what is happening in our body and mind as it is happening in this present moment and without any judgment as to whether it should or shouldn't be here. This is, of course, very different from how we may habitually relate to what we are experiencing. Without practice, we continuously decide whether we like something or not, and we try to get rid of what we find unpleasant and go after what seems enjoyable. To put it in Buddhist terms, our awareness is normally colored by aversion and greed. When bringing mindfulness to something that is happening, we set aside this normal tendency to always be deciding that something should or shouldn't be here. Good, bad, or ugly, it is the truth of our life in this moment. And we do our best to just be present with it as it is. It is easy to say, I will be with whatever is here. It is not so easy to do. I go from unpleasant to pushing away very fast. I also go from pleasant to grabbing very fast. This is reactivity. The reactivity keeps me trying to control everything so that I can tolerate being alive. The delusion that I can control everything is often not questioned. I am full of beliefs about what should and should not be. I am caught in the delusion that controlling keeps me safe and happy. Luckily, the Dharma has two teachings that will help. First, there is paradox in practice. We also call that dialectics. And second, To cultivate healthy emotions, use opposite action. Today, the paradox is being with what is, which is reactivity, while cultivating its opposite, curiosity. While being with what is, I am also moving beyond reactivity into curiosity. The task is to shine awareness on what is, which is the reactivity, and then practice opposite action to that reactivity. To practice opposite action when reactivity is high, use the stop skill from DBT. S is for stop. T is for take a step back to be able to see all of what is going on. O is to observe. P is for proceed mindfully. Proceeding mindfully involves discerning what is needed. That gets me to another paradox of practice, living with acceptance and change. Some unpleasant feeling may be the mind's way of trying to get me to change the situation I'm in. Either way, I must replace reactivity with curiosity because reactivity will get in the way of skillful feeling. The way into skillful acceptance and skillful change is through curiosity. Michael says, to be curious about something means to observe it with an open mind. This is what the sutra calls contemplation. The sutra tells us to observe with openness the body, feelings, and mind, saying silently, oh, look what is happening in my mind right now. Let me investigate exactly how this feels as it unfolds in my body and mind, even if it's uncomfortable. Notice that investigation follows directly from mindful observation. Also notice that the sutra tells us to abide contemplating. Cultivating and exercising curiosity during meditation helps us to stay inquisitive throughout our daily lives. A person who practices today's lesson will change internally and will change their circumstances if needed. Awareness will bring wisdom to what must be changed and bring acceptance to what cannot be changed. So I'm not going to say a lot about the two little practice guides. Oh, maybe I will. So this is this. Oh, so reactivity didn't do so well either. Oh, yeah, there's a couple, there's some other. So the first one, so these are for your, to think about this week as you're going about your practice this week. The first is to consider what reactivity means for you, how it plays out for you. And again, reactivity is the habit of responding quickly to pleasant experience by wanting and clinging, and responding to unpleasant experience by judging, rejecting, and pushing away. And so also there's another paradox, and that is that we have reactivity because it can be helpful, right? If you're in an emergency, you maybe not want to sit and contemplate. But often that when we're stressed or traumatized, we can stay in that emergency reactivity mode all the time. And if we're not in an emergency acutely, then that's not too skillful to be. So what causes reactivity? So this is what to look at for yourself, which ones of these might apply. Illness, lack of sleep, lack of exercise, poor diet, and poor self-care. That's in the short term. In the long term, some of those things can turn into long term, but also it's a habit for everyone. However, childhood adversity, stressful life circumstances, and prior trauma make it all worse, or can make it all worse. And then reactivity manifesting during our meditation practice is basically the 5 hindrances. So I summarize them there: getting stuck in negative thought stories, getting stuck in pleasant fantasies, having a feeling of restlessness, dullness, doubt. And then what about in our everyday life? We all know that one: outbursts, defensiveness, avoidance and withdrawal, impulsivity, but also Michael says in his book, fix-it mode. That's rushing to solve a problem to avoid sitting with discomfort or vulnerability. So we have some tips to reduce reactivity, practice self-care, practice Mahasati meditation. And I specifically asked the monks 2 retreats ago what their recommended minimum time is, and they said 15 minutes a day. So I put that here. Walking meditation as well. And then for times when you're particularly stressed, I advocate 4-7-8 breathing for a couple of minutes to kind of bring down your level of stress before meditation. But I just want to say that's my opinion. And I sent this to Michael, but he didn't give his blessing on this today. So every time you exhale for longer than you inhale, you calm the body. So if you Google or go into YouTube and just do a search for 4-7-8 breathing, you'll see a lot of videos. You could just follow the video. You inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7 seconds, and then exhale for 8. And so that turns out to be, 3 or so breaths a minute. And you do that for a few minutes. And I always wear one of these, and I can see it always lowers my heart rate after a time. So you could actually, that's something you could actually measure the effects of. So then the other way to deal with reactivity is through curiosity. So the universe caused a really good mistake to happen to me yesterday. I thought yesterday was a meeting, but it wasn't. So I ended up having a fabulous meeting with Max, who is, Max Johnson is part of our Sangha here, and he is a real scholar of early Buddhism and the Pali Canon and the sutras that I'm trying to study right now. So I asked him, what were the Pali words for curiosity? Because I had never seen the word curiosity in any of the readings that I had done. But Michael talks about it in his book. So I thought, well, there should be an equivalent of it. And what was that word being translated to? So I can tell you, for those of you who are sutra nerds like me, sutra nerds, curiosity is really, according to Max, and I think it has to be true, that it's really the equivalent of the second factor of enlightenment. And that is, the first factor of enlightenment is mindfulness. The second factor proceeds right from mindfulness, and that is investigation. So the idea that you're going to investigate what's going on. So that's curiosity. So, and that's an interesting, that's a really beautiful thing with what we're reading in the sutra, that those factors of enlightenment that we'll go through over the next few months, those factors directly flow from one another. So you get to mindfulness, meaning you slow down and you discover something, and then immediately you're there to curiosity. What do I need to investigate? What is the universe trying to show me? So curiosity is the innate, strong desire to know, learn, or understand. It is the emotion connected to the human need to explore new things. When curiosity provokes exploration, the thinking brain grows. That is why curiosity is present in babies after about 8 weeks. And without curiosity, there's no motivation for that baby or child to grow the brain. So, and therefore they can't improve their skills. So skills improve as the brain grows, and that's also an important process in adults. So how curiosity works is we have an experience of a gap in knowledge or a gap, have a desire to fill that gap, exploring, and then experiencing some degree of pleasure upon learning. And because that discovery brings pleasure or satisfaction, curiosity can help calm you and help counter unpleasant feelings. And so what gets in the way of curiosity? Basically those reactivity things, stress and boredom. And then some suggestions about how to improve curiosity. Practice beginner's mind. Ask yourself, what's new? What haven't I noticed before? Let go of judgment. Notice those thoughts. I hate this feeling. And why do I keep getting caught up in this? And instead, I think those are quotes I took from Michael's book. And instead say, oh, what is happening in my mind right now? Let me investigate exactly how this feels as it unfolds in my body and mind, even if it's uncomfortable. And then practice mindfulness by observing your body sensations, feelings, thoughts, emotions, and urges. So what was here for all of you today in practice? Or how do you receive this reading?
I'm full of thoughts at the moment. I see in meditation that curiosity is just the opening of space to let things fall in their place, to hear something out, to see what fills up, what goes away, what arises, what disappears. I don't see it as the analysis of how come, where did this come from so much. I think that those conclusions or that intellectual understanding will more easily fall into place if we're not chasing the goal of knowing. That we stay in the space of not knowing, knowing that we're not knowing, and let it occur, welcome. And so too much analysis in meditation is a hindrance for me. It is the intellectual conceptualizing what is going on that does not help me to be with it and to have the space around it. So it's not to go back to, we talked yesterday, the gentleman who was sitting here said the difference between the map and the territory. It's not to create a new map. That's not where curiosity should lead, but curiosity is opening the gap again and again and again, having an answer, but the answer, letting go of the answer again and again and again. That's my understanding of it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly.
Frank, could you give an example of that?
An example is in listening. Like, I had some of these thoughts while Leanne was talking. And I would go back to the opinion of those thoughts. So and there's moments I wasn't really hearing what Leanne was saying because of that. I was closing my mind because I had another point of view. That's not being in the moment, and it's not being curious. It is just kind of reestablishing my own sense of self in a way. So I was doing the opposite of what I'm talking about. And I do that often,
Well,
you know. my talking about things is not making it so necessarily. I'm not very
Habit. We all have habits.
So you're explaining how to investigate.
yeah.
So, I mean, there's no doubt that investigation is,
It's valuable, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
but so investigation doesn't mean, so when the police investigate something, they don't go, aha, he did it. They investigate everything,
Right.
everything. And so that's the investigating part. The investigation doesn't necessarily imply a conclusion,
An outcome.
an outcome, but also, and I shouldn't say but, and, though if you notice, mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of feeling, mindfulness of the mind, followed by mindfulness of Dhamma. And that can mean, according to a lot of people, different things. But one of the things that can mean, like he asked for an example, say before someone came to meditate here, some friend had called them and had been very abusive. And so they were sitting here with the aftermath of that abusiveness. And so sitting and investigating, okay, what did that do to my body? What feelings do I have? What emotions do I have? What thoughts do I have? The outcome of that could be, this is a friend I've had for 40 years, and I'm not going to distance them from my life. So I have to figure out how to accept and live with this more skillfully. Or the outcome could be, this is something I need to change.
I think it's the thing will happen out of just noticing the feeling in your back or in your face of your frowning, in your discomfort, and just the openness of saying, what is it? Where is it? And seeing that this is now a physical manifestation, and that physical manifestation of the thoughts is producing more thoughts. And so to kind of get back to the embodied reality of things rather than the story, and rather than what I need to do with it. I'm here with this. A devastating blow happened. Someone died in my family. But it's not the thoughts of determining, oh, I need to. It's not this. It's not a solution finding. I think that the solution is really buried deep inside us already. We'll get there, but we have to recognize the reality of this moment. Say, oh well, I'm just actually, it's gone just by noticing, just by being curious about it, just by being open to it and seeing it was there, but now it's gone, or seeing there's so much space around it. They dissipate. That way they become dharmas, phenomena, events, and they're not tracking back to a story in any way. That's my understanding of curiosity. Open. Just drop it. Just be with what is here now. And you come back to the friend who was abusive. Well, you'll find out again. You stay curious. You have some space around it. Say, don't need this because I can't fix it. I won't need it. but we are trying to reassure with all our solutions. We're trying to reassure our sense of control. We try to remount the saddle and fix it. And that's not what curiosity is. Curiosity is saying, that was then, what is now?
Yeah, no, so I'm sure you're aware that mindfulness has been criticized. Modern American mindfulness has been criticized as a means for controlling the masses. As if I just sit and I'm here and I apply mindfulness to it, it'll dissipate and I'll be fine. And then I leave and nothing changes. So I don't think that being curious and fully accepting what is has to mean that we don't work for change. And so, in fact, that full taking in of what is and everything, all that it feels, I think is going to put people in a place to make the changes that are wise and skillful for them. And that's the whole point of this. But it's not that you sit here on also then the other teaching is that it's not like you're sitting here trying to figure out, should I change or should I not? That's not the task. The task is to be curious about the impact of everything on yourself and what is present with you here.
If I sit here and try to make a plan of how to deal with the situation, I am really feeding a lot of thoughts and a lot of, I'm kind of digging myself deeper into my sense of self in the matter, my sense of who I should be or how I was wronged or how I come out of it. Whereas the truth of things may just be how we grab onto the thoughts of the argument, how we validate them over and over again, how we the word raise by how we make them into huge things, and how we take the second arrow, and we should not take second arrow out here. We should just really see the wound and just experience what we need to do for it.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So this is my first time you could change. So curiosity to me is understanding. I'm trying to understand what I feel, not why I feel. Understanding something gets me up. People think it's simple. The curiosity. Because my whole life I've been figure out. It's like this. Understand why I'm feeling what I'm feeling. Create that space, create space by changing, like absolutely change. That. general one.
So is the group's consensus that the term curiosity applies or doesn't apply? Or maybe it's the term investigation.
Investigation.
Curiosity. So, oh, interesting. So, okay, so I tell you what, this is a good exercise because I'm trying to refine everything. So I could go back to Max and I could say, could you please see that word investigation and what the real meaning of it is as it was practiced in early Buddhism, as he would say. That maybe the idea, there's enough difference between curiosity and investigation. Maybe that second factor of enlightenment or awakening is supposed to be curiosity and not investigation.
Wonderful point, I think, because curiosity is what's next. And it's not like looking over my shoulder, but it's what's up.
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, what's going on? What? And I think that's life. That's what we do in life. In a good way, not resisting, but being. And sometimes we see with our bodies, sometimes we see with our minds, sometimes we see with our eyes.
And so also I can personalize it a little and say that what usually happens with me is after I've applied curiosity to everything, there's not a story that goes along with the skillful path forward. It's just suddenly, oh, that's what I should, that's how I live skillfully. That there's not a debate about it. It's like, it just is there after being mindful of everything that I can find that's present.
I think that's so true. I think that my mind is being so intellectualized and so over conceptualized about everything that I find relief in seeing how much confusion there is in all that. In not because the intellect is always wrong, but because it always thinks it's right. It's a take that back. I don't know where that came from.
Oh, yeah. And I have to tell the group that there is this skill in the DBT skills package that I'm sort of trying to merge with this sutra. And the skill I thought had no equivalent in Buddhism, but you're telling me that it has an equivalent. The skill is wise mind and knowing when you're in wise mind. And you're describing what the skill calls rational mind, where you're thinking everything out. And then other people are more in that reactivity mind and their emotions are ruling them. And wise mind is some sort of healthy synthesis of the two that's intuitive and shows you what the middle path is. So it's interesting how, we talk about these things and then the truth just kind of emerges from the group process. Yeah.
The practice of this type of meditation, I think about the word insight, and it is skillful contemplation, or call it investigation, or curiosity. Words can trip us up because words can have subtle difference in meaning to different people. But I think about we are at an insight meditation and we're sitting in order to become more skillful, having insights into our actions. Through mindful meditation, we can become better skilled at, instead of reacting, acting skillfully. One of our things is right action, right thought, right understanding. This is that we are practicing so that we can become better skilled. So whether we resonate with the word curiosity to open that up, or investigation, or contemplation, I think it's important that we don't get caught up in those words, but it's more like what Frank is saying. It's that in that practice of meditation, where do you actually feel that openness happening? Where do you feel that your heart is opening? Where do you feel that you are no longer in that aversion stage or the controlling stage? What is opening you up and how you can? And that's what this practice gives to me. And so your handouts are very helpful because it kind of gives me, maybe I don't use the same words, but I know what I experience when I'm here, and I know how I apply that practice to my life and what's helpful to me. So my word that I think of is contemplation, less than curiosity or investigation. That's just my word, and that doesn't have to be anybody else's.
What was it like to be here for the first time?
We just came at the perfect time. You don't always know that you need something, and then you're here and just. I happen to love the word curiosity. I think the word itself is so playful for me. I worked with children for a long time, so I'm just getting these flashes. And then as I was thinking about it, I was opening my eyes in meditation, and this ladybug was just kind of following some pattern that only it understood, and it just put me in that curious mindset. And in terms of just applying this like acceptance, wisdom, what to accept, it cannot change, and feel some sort of, that's where things get a little bit muddy in my mind, but I'm also okay with that. I like that process, seeing it through and seeing where it takes me, because I think about this in terms of what is coming up for people, not just me. If it's really unpleasant, if you're observing and you're being mindful and what's coming up is painful or traumatic or upsetting, it's a different route than just sitting with what is. Trying to meditate myself and seeing how it's different if just observing is pain. And accepting and being curious. So any sense at all. That's my thought.
Okay, well, have a good week, everybody.
Thank you.
Sure.
You too.
Pages back.
It's up to you. You can leave them here, and I have a stash downstairs. I'm saving them. If you want to reuse them, recycle them.